Happy Tuesday, everyone. I am Jeff Blankenburg, and I have the good fortune of having Annette here with me today from our developer advocacy group. Thank you for being here, Annette.
Hello. Really happy to be here. Super excited.
Welcome back. We've got some people already in the chat, which is fantastic. But for those of you that maybe this is your first time or haven't been here before, this is Alexa Developer Office Hours. And so we are here to answer your questions about building Alexa skills, publishing them, getting them certification, bugs, issues, features, whatever you'd like to talk about. We are here to talk about it. So I will kind of kick it to all of you. There are a couple of questions already in the chat, and so I'm going to address those. But for those of you that maybe can't see them, we are broadcasting on both Twitch and YouTube. So you may see me answer questions from a chat that you don't recognize, but I promise they're coming in from both of those places. So Frank asks if the camera shutter is on. So I think he's talking about the new Echo Show 10. By the way, have you had a chance to play with one of these yet, Annette?
Not yet, but I've seen a lot of pictures and videos of it, and it looks really cool. So I'm super excited for when I get my hands on it.
Off to here. Let me go full screen just for a second. You can see I've got one sitting here next to me, and it's awesome. You can say things like, "Alexa, follow me." Hello, Alexa. I need to fix this because I just moved this device. Let's see if we can.
Is this an emergency?
No.
I can help you with specific questions.
Alexa.
But I have to connect.
Stop. I wanted to adjust the range. It's not going to let me do that right now. Anyway, it's following me now, so you can see it kind of tracks me around the room as I'm moving. Very, very cool. A lot of fun to play with, and there's some great ATL stuff you can do with it too. So I'll bring Annette back in. No, I won't. There we go. So the question was, if the camera shutter is on, which means it's blocking the camera, the voice motion tracking stops working. Alexa can still respond to voice, but motion is off. I didn't realize that, Frank, and so I'll talk with the team and see if that's on purpose or what the reasoning behind that is. But I hadn't realized that if it turns that off, voice tracking is still off. Your camera will be off. You open the camera cover. This also disables motion. If you make or receive a video call or drop in, you'll be able to see the other caller's video, but they won't be able to see you. So it does clearly say that it turns off motion, but I wonder why that is. I guess because it would be kind of confusing to have it move sometimes, but not other times. Like it can turn to hear you, but then if you move again, it doesn't know that because it can't track. I don't know. They must have had a reason for that. But it's a good point to raise, Frank. And Pablo says, "Hi, Jeff and Annette. Great initiative. I've got a question about WWA. Can you?" So this is smart home related, I think. Can you please confirm that WWA only contemplates smart home skills? You cannot apply to WWA with a custom skill. Thanks. I have to be honest, Pablo, and maybe Annette, you can help with this. I don't know what WWA stands for. Do you?
Yeah, so our WWA program is called the Work with Alexa program. And this is basically once your product gets certified, you can put a badge. Some of you might have seen at stores where you'll get like a little smart home device that will say "Work with Alexa." So it's through a separate program, and it looks like Trade Labs has posted a link in the Twitter chat room with more information regarding the program. Perfect. But you are correct. WWA badges are only for smart home products and devices.
That makes sense. I mean, I think the badges are meant to be on the boxes of products, right? That's really what the program is meant for. So I wonder what Pablo's asking, how can I use this with a custom skill? I would guess because it doesn't have any packaging. Custom skills don't generally have that. But Pablo, I'd love to know more about what you're thinking or what you're trying to accomplish with this, because by default, the icon that you have for your Alexa skill is kind of made up of an Alexa logo. So it seems to me that would be a clear endorsement that it works on Alexa, but I'd love to know kind of where you're heading with that. Good morning to Rashad Williams and Dan Rekwa. Trey Last is here. here, let's see. Is there really no way to use the APL directive with an add elicit slot directive? Being API heavy, I'm having to use elicit slot directives. A lot of tried conversations, but it's still confusing. I don't know this for certain, but I feel like, Austin, I feel like the answer is if you're using dialogue management, which includes the standard dialogue management stuff that you see from time to time, as well as Alexa conversations, when you're doing those things, you don't have the ability to also submit APL requests. And the reason for that is because you're actually handing off all of the activity that happens inside your skill to the Alexa service, to the dialogue management service, rather than having individual requests come into your Lambda, the back end of your code. And so there wouldn't be any way to modify or manipulate any of that content at the same time. So I think that's the reasoning why. But yes, I do believe that that is actually true. Do you have an experience with that, Annette?
No, I don't.
Oh, that's right. I always like to just kick it over in case you might have a perspective on it. In case you don't. I couldn't remember what WWA stand for. Now I feel bad that I didn't remember.
Yeah. And also going back to the WWA question, if you're just talking about general marketing for Alexa skills, I can share a link that actually tells you about like our Alexa branding and also Echo branding that you can use if you're doing like self-marketing promotion and stuff. So I'll share that in the chats for everyone.
Excellent. I'm going to, Austin, I'm going to add your comment to my my text file, but for whatever reason, StreamYard won't let me copy it out. All it'll let me do is add it as a comment here on the screen. And I didn't have my Twitch chat open, so I don't have it in my history. So I'm just going to type it up real quick.
Okay. I forgot to sign into Twitch, so now it's checking to see if I'm a robot. So
are you a robot?
Take me. I hope not, but I guess Twitch will tell me in just a little bit once it actually lets me log in.
I mean, it's really good that you're not, but it would have been super cool if you said yes.
Yeah. Sometimes I wish I was that would be pretty cool. Just connect my brain directly to the internet. Sometimes I wish I was that would be pretty cool. Just connect my brain directly to the internet. Sometimes I wish I was that would be pretty cool.
Yeah. So I think I fixed it. There we go. Okay. So I got the comment. Great question, Austin. And these are things we can think about. Austin's other question is, he's looking forward to the API integrations with business knowledge skills because that's killing him right now. He loves the knowledge skill capabilities. I'm with you. I really enjoy building that kind of stuff, knowledge skill kind of stuff. And then he goes, on that though, if I'm using a business skill that is published privately, is there any way not to have to use the skill invocation name? Well, we have to be careful about the word business there. So I believe, though I can't specifically verify this on the call, I'm pretty sure that this is true. If you build a skill and you deploy it using something like Alexa for Business, which allows you to have a approved list of devices that are provisioned for your organization, whether that's you or a larger company, I believe that you can set up specific commands that translate directly to a skill without having to know the name of the skill. I don't know that for sure, but I'm pretty sure that that's the case because there are lots and lots of capabilities, and maybe it's limited by an Alexa for Business kind of interaction model. But like when I'm in an Amazon office, I can walk into any room and say, Alexa, book this room or something like that. And it works. But book this room isn't a normal Alexa utterance that you could use. It has to be very specific to the device and it has to know about itself. So I feel like there probably is some of that capabilities on Alexa for Business, but off the top of my head, I don't know. Alexa for Business, oddly enough, is actually a completely separate AWS business that we don't have a ton of interaction with. So Annette, have you spent any time on the A for B stuff?
Yeah, so sometimes we get developers asking more about Alexa for Business. And for me, I've only just worked with like the basics, explaining to people what it is. But like you said, it is correct. If you do have Alexa for Business enabled, you are able to personalize your experience on each devices a lot better. But if you go to like our Alexa for Business website, there's actually their own support program, and you'll be able to get more information regarding how to get that set up for your business.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. I'm taking Dan Requa's question. I am not even slightly going to pretend to be an Alexa Conversations expert. What's your experience with Alexa Conversations, Annette?
So for me, I actually haven't had any experience with it, just because Tia and Andrew on my team, they're the POCs for it. So sorry, won't be able to have much help.
That's quite all right. So we don't have the right people in the chat today to talk about Alexa Conversations, Dan. But that being said, I want to make sure that I read through your question out loud, because maybe I'll have some insights for you here. Request ARG and additional questions. My API has 3 mandatory slots, and I put in a response, request ARG, asking for the 3 slots at once. I also filled out 3 additional responses with 1 mandatory slot each. Now I'm a bit confused because my Alexa Conversation skips the 3-in-1 response and goes straight for the 1 slot per turn questions. Can you maybe talk about request ARG responses and additional responses in general? How does Alexa Conversations pick between them? I mean, I think a lot of this is going to be based on the model that you've created. So a lot of, when we're talking about having different kinds of sample utterances, basically, for Alexa Conversations, and one of them has 3 answers in 1 utterance, and others have 1 per, and you're expecting them to do a turn-based iteration through those. I think it has a lot to do with what the user is saying, too. And I'm sure you're testing this in multiple ways. But Alexa Conversation is not my expertise, so I want to make sure that I'm being really clear about that. But my thought here is that we want to be able to make sure that our utterances are representative of the different kinds of data that we're getting. And so what it sounds to me like you're saying is, even though I have a thing that has 3 different slots in 1 utterance, and I'm saying 3 different things, what you're indicating to me is that it catching all 3 of those, catching all 3 of those answers as 1, or is it only catching the first one? I guess that's one question I would have. And then TradeLast makes a fantastic suggestion. There is a new Alexa community Slack that has been created in the past month. There's just over 600 people in there now on that, by the way, which is super awesome. And they're asking these kinds of questions, and you're getting support not only from Amazon there, but you're getting it from the community. And there are lots and lots of really passionate conversations and APL developers and all sorts of other people that are there answering those kinds of questions for each other, which is incredible because you get a turnaround time that just can't be matched. So hopefully that gets you headed down the right path. But Dan, I don't have a solid answer for you this morning. I apologize. But I have written your question down, and I'm going to take it to my team to see what we can do to solve it. Rashad Williams asks, are they going to have any more Zero to Hero Alexa developer skills in 2021? So Zero to Hero, in my recollection, is a YouTube series that was created about a year ago by a couple of my colleagues in Europe. And so I think when I think about Alexa, when I think about Zero to Hero, I think that's what you're describing. Is you want more of those kinds of programs, that kind of video, that kind of takes you on a journey from zero to building something awesome over a video series. Is that, Rashad, kind of what you're getting at? I'm going to skip past this question for now, but I would love your answer. I want to know specifically what you're describing. So TradeLast mentioned about the community Slack. For those of you that don't know about this, you can go to alexa.design/Slack in your browser, and you can join our Slack community. Like I said, there's 600 or so people there now. It continues to grow. We're adding 40, 50 people a week, so it's growing quite nicely. Stop. Okay. Darius Hang. Yeah, I'll post it in the chat. We'll do that. Alexa.design/Slack. And that will always be
Flash
the
is the name of several super
Alexa.
occurring in BC.
That URL will never change. So anytime you want to invite someone or tell someone about it or have them join, that will be the place they can go. They can always just go to that link and they'll be able to sign up. To help expand Alexa use to more people who have little to no development skills with Alexa, be releasing more pre-made templates like for scheduling appointments or easy integration with tools like Zapier. I don't know anything about the roadmap, Tom. It's a really good question. I know that we are constantly thinking about new templates to make available to folks, but generally we have not built templates with an eye towards you taking it, making a few changes and publishing it. Often they're meant as learning tools. And that's not to say that you couldn't make a few small changes and publish it, but generally what we see with the templates that we've created is it's a learning opportunity. So inside this specific template, there's some APL stuff you may want to look at. And inside this template, there's a bunch of in-skill purchasing stuff, right? Like that, it's built in that way. So that being said, like we have the fact skill, and that fact skill has been used dozens, hundreds of times. I'm sure Annette's very familiar with some of those. But the fact skills are, you convert it, you change 20, add 20 or 30 skills of your facts of your own to the skill, and you're off and running, and you could publish that. Let's see. As far as easy integration with tools like Zapier, I would. I use Zapier actually for the Slack channel. It feeds in a lot of excellent data from our Twitter and stuff like that. Announces when we go live on Twitch like this, which I just realized I think I forgot to change the subject and title of this. Did I forget to do that? Oh, it looks like I did update it. Man, I really thought I forgot that. Okay, perfect. So yes, we're looking at ways to make things easier, always. But I don't have anything specific to share with you about our roadmap, because even if I did know about stuff, I'd be fired if I told you about it. So I'm not allowed to do that. But I can assure you I don't actually know of anything specific that we're working on. But there's hundreds and hundreds of people working on this team, and there's all sorts of cool progress being made. So it's possible, certainly possible. I feel like I missed part of Austin's conversation. Let's see. Austin just said, in the author, how can I resolve it to the book name given info from the knowledge graph? Austin, are you talking about using now Alexa entities, or what are you referring to specifically with the knowledge graph? Because I have a couple of approaches I can take to asking how I know who the author of a book is, things like that. But I want to make sure that I'm being clear on what you're asking. Rockalock, no, I have not had a chance to review your yearly reminder syntax. I did forward it on, but I've not heard anything back yet, and I haven't had a chance to build that sample myself. The problem is I run out of these office hours, and then I immediately have stacked up 5 other hours of meetings, and so I don't have the opportunity right now while I have the momentum to go build stuff. But I have to add that to my agenda, because I do want to look at that. The issue, Annette, with this yearly reminder, if you are familiar with the reminders in Alexa, you can set, I think it's daily or weekly reminders, and there's yearly also. And the syntax that he provided looks very clean. He's actually created a skill, and he wants to do a yearly reminder on something. Mm-hmm. But for whatever reason, when he submits the yearly reminder API call, it doesn't work. To the point that he thinks yearly reminders aren't actually supported, even though they're listed in the docs. So it's kind of odd, and I just haven't had a chance to build or play with that yet. So that's what his question comes from.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. We should figure that out.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's see if we can do. So Alexa entities is actually something that I have wanted to play with here for a little while, Austin. And so for if I look at book here, I'm going to flip to my. We'll just do this and this. So Austin, this is what I'm looking at right now for book. there's books in the author graph provided with, and yeah. So this is what you're looking at right here. This is in the tech docs, and it looks like you just need that entertainment author property. I'm assuming, are you already trying to access this specific property? Is this just not working? This seems to be the data point that I would be looking for if I were you. All right, I feel like maybe part of your question got cut off earlier. It starts with the words "and the author," and I don't know if there was more to that question, but I don't think I have the whole context. All right, so Austin says he can grab the author, which is good. And he can grab the name. So you're able to make those calls and get that data. That's great. I think the question is, are you trying to then also do some kind of entity resolution? There's got to be a bigger chunk to the context of what was supposed to be in your question. I'm just not seeing. So I'm hoping you can clarify. Steve, also a very good point. There is a channel on the Slack that we've been talking about that is beta Alexa entities, and so anyone that wants to go in there and talk about that stuff, the product team is paying clear attention to that beta channel, and so that's always the place that I would recommend going. Like, you'll get answers much quicker. You don't have to wait for me to show up on a Tuesday. That would be something to consider as well. But I need more context on what you're trying to do, man. That's all. That's all. All right, who's next? But yes, I'm talking about using the graph and then using Alexa resolutions, entity resolution, to get the correct book that the user wants. So you're trying to do it. Well, that's interesting. So, oh yeah, because these are built-in slots, you don't get entity resolution. I see. Okay, so the question you have is, when let's just show this. Can we do this in a quick manner? If I create a new skill, I'm gonna try to. I'm just gonna bump this over for a second.
Cool.
So book test. Let's do that. Custom. All that's great. We're going to create a quick skill. Let's just try this. Start from scratch. It's great. We'll get this. Annette, we can still hear you, I believe, but just can't see.
Okay. Sounds good. I'm just a voice now. This is great.
Just this ethereal voice hanging out in the background. You can tell me everything I do wrong.
See, now I feel like Alexa a little bit. Like,
right. I also started a new skill for certification this morning.
Oh, cool.
While I'm waiting for this to load, and while we can get into this for Austin, Victor just asked, can you explain the behavior of device ID? I can explain the behavior of device ID. So the way the device IDs work is it is a unique device ID for that user for that skill. So if a user uses a device as part of your payload, you will receive a device ID. If you have two skills and the same user on the same device uses both of your skills independently, you will get a different user ID and a different device ID for both of them. Because we don't want you to be able to identify a user across skills or anything without having gone through the standard channels of like account linking or something like that. So a user's privacy is paramount, and so we don't want you to know that this person is the same person over here. There's no way to be able to detect that stuff. So the device ID, however, within that skill will always be the same. And so a user can have multiple device IDs if they have multiple devices. And as they use your skill on each device, they will get a different device ID. So it's actually letting you know that this device, for example, is the one they use all the time. And you can see and log all of that stuff however you'd like, and even be able to track it. So I built a skill a while back called Achievement Unlocked, and it was meant to just be all sorts of crazy achievements. The skill didn't really do anything, but pretty much everything you did in some way unlocked an achievement. And so one of the achievements was, hey, you've used this skill on more than one device. And what I was doing was logging all of the different device IDs I had for a specific user. And if I saw a second one pop up, then I realized, oh my gosh, they're on a different device. That's amazing. So that was that's how I built that little achievement. But I hope that answers your question, Victor. That's how you build that's how you use the device ID. Did you have anything to add to that, Annette? While I start building a skill?
No, I think you covered it pretty well.
Okay. Let's do this. We'll just create a new intent. We'll call this book intent. And in here, what I want to do is say, let's do something with title. I'm going to add title. For this, I'm going to choose Amazon.book. And then I'll also do another one that is author. And this one will be Amazon. You have author? Amazon.author. Okay. So I have both of those, and I'm going to save this and build it. Milton, I saved the whole thing only because I suppose there is the possibility that if I only save the last 5 or last 10 characters, that I could end up with a duplicate. I mean, the chances are really, really low, but I know that those are technically unique IDs, and so I save the whole thing. I do the same thing with user ID. It makes it easier to compare to without having to constantly parse and chop things apart. All right, I'm building and training my model for author and title. Now, what I want to see is, do I get any resolutions on these slots? I don't think that you do. 10 utterance conflicts, really? That's interesting. Book intent seems to really want to eat everything. Okay, I'm not going to worry about that for now. So if I come into test, what's this thing? Change me. Open change.
Welcome. You can say hello or help. Which would you like to try? You just triggered book intent.
Okay, so I just triggered the book intent, which is good. And it looks like we do, for Alexa entities, get some resolutions. Yeah. So it is, well, these aren't resolutions though. Yeah, they are. Yeah, so we're resolving out. Now, I don't know how it treats 5 different Stephen Kings. I'm not sure exactly how that's supposed to happen. But what if I say something like Catcher in the Rye?
The Catcher in the Rye is a 1951 novel. Welcome. You can say hello or help. You just triggered book intent.
Okay, so you get these nice IDs. Come down far enough here. And Catcher in the Rye has this amount of data. Now, what do I get? I haven't actually done this yet. Entities is my next big project. What does that get me? Oh, I have to pass headers and stuff. Okay, I was really hoping I could just see what that was going to be. So it does look to me, Austin, like we're getting resolutions, not in the traditional sense, but you have resolutions for authority. Yeah, I know how these are used. Thank you, TradeLast. This is how you call to get all the data about this entity. But what I'm trying to decide is, can we treat these as resolutions? you don't really get rid of it. You have to make the call from software because there's an actual header that has to be passed as well. You could use a tool like Postman or something like that to make those kinds of calls, but you can't just drop one of these URLs directly in a browser because there's additional metadata that has to be passed as well. Okay, so when I say Catcher in the Rye, I get my slot. This treats it just like a resolution, which is great. My authority happens to be Alexa entities. I get some resolution values. So Austin, this feels like it's doing what you want it to do. I'd be interested to see what happens if I say like just Catcher.
Welcome. You can say hello. You just triggered book intent.
So now we have these: Dream Catcher, Soul Catcher, Catcher in the Rye, Catcher. So this is pretty awesome because this allows us to see that there's a list of these things, but also have the ability to go get additional data about that stuff. So I'm really excited for Alexa entities. This is something I'm thinking I might actually want to come back and play with for things like Star Wars once they support those kinds of slots, because entities isn't in everything yet. Entities is only in like 5 or 6 different built-in slot types at this point. So Austin, I hope that helps. As I'm looking at this, this seems like it's pretty reasonable because you could then come back and say, oh, did you mean Catcher or Catcher in the Rye or Soul Catcher or Dream Catcher? That's how I would use this data if I was trying to get clarification from the user about which one I wanted. All right. Back to Annette on screen. And you're back.
Yay!
Oh, let's see. I was thinking save the device ID with the ID of the room in my app. Victor, you could certainly do that. You'd have to ask the user what room they're in. Let's see. I maintain a hotel service app, and the owner wanted to add 1 or 2 Echo devices to every room. I was thinking save the device ID with the ID of the room in my app. Victor, have you looked into Alexa for hospitality at all? Because this might make your life a lot easier. I would recommend, if you're not already, look at Alexa for hospitality. I think that will solve a bunch of issues for you. Hey, Alex, welcome. R.S. Willis says, I haven't gotten into entities yet in Alexa skills. Yeah, entities is pretty new. And it's one of those things that is on my list of things to play with. I'm sure I'll end up with a whole library of like helper functions to help navigate and drive through those things, but I'm excited to use it. I guess technically I did just use it, but I want to be able to use it in a real application. I feel caught up. I think we caught up. I have a bunch of questions that I should be copying out of here, though. Okay. Victor asked about the device ID. I want to make sure I'm capturing these. Is there an Alexa for business? Not specifically, but you could just go to the normal Slack and ask Alexa for business questions. That's no problem at all. Okay, that's all the questions there.
And I added the link to Alexa for Hospitality to the YouTube chat, so that will give you more information with how you can implement it and who you can contact for help. But I also added on the Twitch chat in case people want to explore more.
Gotcha. Oh, are you Netty13?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So Austin says he's starting with a book, but the Alexa entities can return a ton of resolutions with different published dates or even authors. We just saw that with Stephen King or Catcher in the Rye. There are multiple different published dates. He's wanting to do a resolution to give authors. Can you show an example of the new multi-slot use in Alexa skills? RS Willia, I'll do you one better. How about this? We're going to go grab a URL for you. And let's see if we can find this. I just published.
You want to be more productive in 20?
Stop. That one, it's Alexa Dev. Sorry. There is a video that we just published somewhere. Okay, I'm going to take this crazy long URL, RS Willia, and I'm going to add this to the chat. This is a YouTube video that I actually just broadcast a week ago, and it's an entire 25-minute session on multi-value slots. And the multi-value slots are really, really simple and straightforward to use, but I go through the entire process of creating a skill and doing all that. So you might check that out. I think that'll be worthwhile. All right, back to the chat. Steve and data-driven skills. Trade last. I know it's the same person as Steve. For you guys, I noticed you're mentioning that there are a bunch of channels in Slack that you may not have seen before. I'm very curious. Should I make it so that those are all there all the time? I think I can do that, where I can just make all the channels visible all the time. But I feel like that would be annoying to people. So we only start you with a small few. Maybe I should grow that. Maybe I should add. No, I should not do that. You guys should just go find them yourselves. Okay, that's very, very clear and direct feedback.
Can't see the link. Jeff, do you know if YouTube has a block on external links? Because it looks like Victor can't see it. Or maybe you have to post it.
Interesting. All right, I'll try that. So let me grab your link. That went through. Looks like it went through. Ooh, Alex, here's a good one for Annette. I've already requested to delete an old skill for the 3rd time. I also get a message that someone will get back to me within 2 business days, but so far no one has actually replied. Is it currently not possible to remove a skill from the store?
So it is possible for you to remove a skill from the store, and usually you should be able to do it over at your end. Let me see if I can find documentation on it. But if you're running into any tech issues, you can go ahead and submit a ticket to us, but they should be able to do it right away. So if you can send me or just comment like the case ID that you have, I can look more into that for you. The only thing that we can't do right now is that if you remove a skill from the Alexa store, that skill is still going to show up in your Alexa skill console as removed, but we can't delete that right now. But if you just want to suppress it and remove it from the skill, you should be able to do that right now. Let's see. Cool. Awesome. I will keep an eye out for that one.
All right. Okay, Zella says he will open a ticket for it. That's awesome. I see, Austin. Okay, this makes more sense now. So you want the user to be able to say the book title and the author. I'm just wanting to also allow the user to say the book title and the author given that specific resolution, if that makes sense. Austin, well, I'm glad you like this, even though I feel like I haven't helped you even slightly, but I'm glad that you enjoy these office hours. It's always really good feedback. And hopefully the Slack channel will also help you a ton. But you want to allow the user to say the book title and the author given that specific resolution. I'm trying to think about how that would really work. Well, we can go back to my, I'm going to go back to my skill here, since I still have it. Bring that back up on the screen. So I could have a third. Let's have another intent. It's both intent. And this time we're going to say title. And I'm sorry, title and so this is going to be Amazon.title. I'm sorry, book. This is going to be Amazon.author. Save. Build. I love you've read the documentation like 100 times. That makes sense. So I get what you're going for here, which is the idea that you want to, like Steve says, you want to intersect that resolution. So I want to take both of these values into consideration, and I want to merge them together to give me a list of resolutions that match both. I don't think that that's possible. Because I already know what's going to happen with this both intent is it's going to resolve both, but it's not going to help me narrow it down. I'm wondering if I could see this stuff here too. So if I just say interesting, but if we say well, that's quite interesting, actually. Steve, did you see what just happened here? I'm just using the utterance profiler. But I typed the words Carrie Stephen King as 3 words. I really want to see how this happens on the test. Open change me.
Welcome. You can say hello or help. Which would you like to try?
I want to try Carrie Stephen King.
You just triggered both intent.
Okay, it did do what I thought, but what's weird to me is that this time it resolved it out to Stephen Edward King, which is his name, obviously. But it didn't do that before. It's like it got more specific. Like Carrie is not, like there's no combination of these. It does feel like that, right, Steve? It does feel like it's intersecting, because if I just say, I could open the skill again.
Welcome. You can say hello or help.
If I just say Stephen King, I got a
You
different.
just triggered book intent.
I didn't get Stephen Edwin King anywhere. So it does feel like, because I said Carrie and I said Stephen King, he was able to say, oh, well, then you very clearly mean Stephen Edwin King. And not any of the other potential Stephen King authors that might exist. I don't know, man. That seems like it is doing some additional work for you. I don't know if I have more time to put into this one today, but hopefully that will, let's see what we get with Carrie.
Welcome. You can say hello or help.
Well, I'm gonna get the
You just triggered book intent.
book intent, but I'm just getting the book then. I'm not getting anything about the author. I'd almost have to remove that other intent. I want to jump into this other question here, though, from Data Driven Skills. So Data Driven Skills asks, get down to the right place. I've seen some skills where there are hundreds of utterances, including "Hey, how are you?" and "Hey, how are you?" is one word, and "Hey, how are you?" which is like slightly different spellings, and every possible permutation thereof. Is this an appropriate use of the tool? So my general rule of thumb for most things is that if you find yourself building out some kind of sample, like any of these, right? If I have tons and tons of sample utterances that are all just slight variations on each other, if you find yourself over 100 for any reason, for a slot, for anything, it feels like you're headed in the wrong direction. Now, there are a lot of very specific reasons why you may want to go in that direction, but in general, I don't think that you should. So the idea is, and I think the reason that you see some developers do that, I realized I'm on the wrong. Let's jump back to this view. The reason that I think you see developers do that is because we are very explicit. We're used to building applications where we have to write all of the instructions for the computer. But when we talk about Alexa, we're really dipping our toe into the world of machine learning and artificial intelligence. And so what ends up happening is that Alexa's NLP should just get it. You're totally right, Data-Driven Skills. Alexa's NLP does just get it. You should be able to provide what I consider a representative sample. And for me, that's usually 10 or 15 things at most. If you're doing more than that, at some point you overcorrect on the model, and it doesn't necessarily help you. In fact, in many cases, it can hurt you. So that's my general rule of thumb, is 10 to 15. But if you have 25 or 30, that doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means maybe you have a broader approach to whatever you're thinking about. But real-world user testing, as Trey last mentioned, gives him utterance samples that you would never have thought of. And I completely agree. This is why things like beta testing are incredibly useful, incredibly handy in being able to think about what are the words that humans are going to use. Because you, as an individual, are always going to be wrong. At best, you're going to cover 30% of use cases. If you really want to be able to catch those kinds of things, you'll see even in a lot of my skills, at least initially, I'll include a search query slot that is a wrong answer or something like that, because then I can capture those words and realize what the user's saying and realize that they were trying to say something that was completely off the wall. The search query slot will grab and capture all of those things that don't match my normal intents. Now, I probably wouldn't publish the skill with that because you may end up catching a bunch of stuff you don't want to. It does give me a pretty clear indication of what people are saying that doesn't match even slightly. And so I like using that, at least for my initial testing, as a way to find out what users are saying. We have 12 minutes left. This went fast.
Yeah, a lot of good questions today.
Very, very good. Let's see. Did I record that one? I did not. Copy. All right, what else you guys got for our last 12 minutes? Hello, Jeff. Not sure if I can multitask, but I'm glad to be here, at least for the last 12 minutes. I'm glad you're here too, Morix. Welcome to the show. Well, Tom Bustamante, there are so many different built-in slots that you can build cool things for. But keep in mind, if you haven't played with slots a lot before, you can build your own custom slot too. So there's lots and lots of things you can do with slots. You've also seen people use month and year slots instead of Amazon.date. That seems crazy to me. Amazon.date will make your life so much easier. It actually gives you a formatted date that you can, insert into your data or whatever. If you do month and year slots, now you've got to do all that combination behind the scenes. Again, I think it's a challenge because people don't always want to trust the machine learning side. So they try to brute force their way through it, but it ends up making more work for you. I like to let Alexa do as much of the work for me as possible. Austin, so what I do is I use a search query slot. So let me go back to a skill I'll show you that does this. So we'll flip to here, and we're going to. This is a trivia game. Which, by the way, if you guys are interested in seeing like a full build out over a month or so, I'm starting a new skill tomorrow. It's going to be an electric casino. We've started on it before, but we're going to actually like build this to finish it. But so what I'm showing you now is the one we just finished this morning. That got submitted to certification. It's called TKO Trivia. And what I want to show you here is that if I do play TKO Trivia,
There was a problem with the requested skills response.
oh, that's fun. Why is that? Straight up broken? That's crazy.
There was a problem with the requested skills response.
All right, well, maybe we won't do that, but I can at least show you how this works. That's going to make it really hard to certify if it won't even open. In my interaction model, I have a question intent, right? So this is where the user says something like, give me a science question. And then I have an answer intent. And this answer intent is when I'm catching a user's answer. Now, the problem with the trivia game is that there's one right answer, but there's an infinite number of wrong answers, right? There's so many possible things someone could say that is a wrong answer. So in my answer intent, I have a slot called wrong. And this wrong slot is what we call an Amazon.search query slot. And this Amazon.search query slot is meant specifically to capture the words that the user said. So you use this when you would want them to do a search query, for example. But you can use it for lots of other things. And so that catch happens right there. And so if they say the right answer, it matches the answer slot. If they say anything else, that ends up in the search query slot. So this search query, then I capture those words, and in my question instance table, you can see that I can see what the user gave as their answer, and I also have a column here that shows me what the right answer was. So I can see, for example, they said Jim and it was a Matt. If they said 5 and it was 3, well, that's not right? So I'm catching the word they say. I also have this when they ask me for a category. So they said, give me random trivia. Well, it didn't know what to do with that. That's something I've since fixed. But when they said random trivia, it didn't know what to do with that. So it captured it and said, hey, they were asking for a category that was random trivia, but I don't know what to do. So then I can go back and fix this stuff, add synonyms, do whatever. Data-driven skills is asking me a question. I've shown this a few times. I'll grab this jewel. It's in the chat. But the question was, hey, how did you get all those little keywords saved next to your test? So if I come back to, not this one, if I come back to this and say test, this is a simple Chrome browser plugin that adds all these words here. And so these are things that I created. So when I say, very weird that this isn't working, by the way, play TKO trivia.
This is TKO Trivia. What would you like to do now?
I don't know why that wasn't working. Okay, so in here, I can say I have a list of categories. We can watch my database here. Well, you can see that the last entry here is random trivia. So I'm going to say, give me a taco question. Right now, I don't have a taco category. So this is going to say, hey, I don't have a taco category.
It looks like I don't have a specific category for taco. For a full list of categories, just say give me the list of categories. What would you like to do now? You can start today's game, or ask for a trivia question.
And so in this instance, you can see that I have taco listed as a category that someone was asking. Yeah, Austin, this is my database. This is Airtable. That's what I'm using for my database. But then on top of that, I can say, give me a science question. Austin, it sounds like you should tune into my my live streams in the morning.
Uh-oh, we don't have a specific category for a science question. What should we do next?
Science.
This is a fun science question for you.
Let's see if anybody knows the answer to this trivia question.
What is the word for measurement of heat intensity?
We got a little audio background. We got APL. This is serious, Annette.
Yeah, no, I love it. Oh, and the background.
Right? Now the icon,
Okay,
our display.
what is
here,
your answer?
the simulator we have here in the developer portal actually doesn't handle centering the way that the devices do. So that like beaker test tube thing, that's actually dead center on the screen on devices, and the spinning thing behind is dead center on the screen. So where they all converge in the center, that's actually absolutely centered on the device, but not here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's just what it looks like here in the simulator. So the answer is, does anyone know what this is? Someone says calorie. Trey Last thinks the answer might be calorie. Anyone else have a guess? The answer is temperature. It's actually pretty simple. I'm supposed to get that wrong, though.
There was a problem with the requested skills
And it
response.
broke? What? It was temperature was the answer. So something broke on the way out because it did handle this. Anyway, let's do another one. People. Oh, I gotta open the skill again, maybe. Play TKO trivia. Tom, the question is,
Welcome to TKO Trivia. You can say something like, give me a science question, or you can start today's game.
just give me a technology question. It's a service called Airtable that I'm using, Tom.
I hope you like this one about technology. Within 1 year, what year was the first iPhone released?
So I'm going to say
Oh.
1994. I know this is wrong. I'm trying to give a wrong answer. Do you know the answer in that? You get within 1 year, so you get a little flexibility.
I want to say 2004? No, 2005, I want to
What do you
say.
think the answer is?
Your guess is 2005.
Yeah.
Trey Last says 2007. Little Defeat says 2007.
Oh, probably. They're probably right.
Nobody's right so far. It's actually 2006.
Oh.
Which you'd all be right because of the way this is set. Oh, it is 2007.
Ouch. 1994
2006.
is not the correct answer. The answer to that question was 2007. The first generation iPhone was released June 29, 2007. What should we do next?
Okay, so you would have been wrong, Annette, but the people that guessed 2007 and 2006 would have been correct.
Yeah.
What we can see here is that I said 1994, and it actually captured that as my answer, and then this is my database showing me that 2007 is the right answer. So it's an easy way for me to quickly scan through my data and be like, oh, they got this one wrong. What did they say? Because what I don't want to have happen, and we see some of this up here early, is they say something like, trying to find one where the answer is correct. I don't think I have many of those anymore. Like this person said Jelly Bellies, and the answer was jelly beans. But I think Jelly Bellies was actually this is a question about, I can show you the actual question. A president, Ronald Reagan, kept jelly beans in a jar on his desk. So they were actually Jelly Bellies, but the question was asking what kind of candy. And so this is a good example for me to go fix my skill. And so I'm using dynamic entities. All this stuff feeds right out of the database. So what I can actually do is go look at this question, and I can look at my synonyms. I have a column for synonyms somewhere. Voice answer, screen answer, answer synonyms. And I can say Jelly Bellies and add that as actually do Jelly Belly too. So I just comma separate some values in this list. And then when the application feeds responses back, I'm actually using dynamic entities to feed, not dynamic entities. Yes, dynamic entities. I'm feeding this to be my answer slot. So by having these values here, it'll automatically provide those as synonyms at the same time. I really need to spend a bunch of time sharing with people how I do this because it's a lot of fun. But Zella and a few other people have been asking, where can I see this? Are there YouTube videos? Yes, you can go to my personal YouTube channel. I literally live stream at least an hour every day. That is Alexa development, and I heavily rely on Airtable. So if you guys want to see that stuff, I'm starting a brand new skill tomorrow. I'd love to have you. I'm on Twitch. I'm on YouTube. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm all over the place. So I'd be happy to have you guys join. With that, though, I didn't realize this, and that we are out of time.
That went by so fast.
I know, the hour does go fast. So if you want to see any of the code, you guys can find that on my GitHub. It's TKO Trivia is the repository name. And I definitely am in love with how Airtable solves a lot of my problems. So I would be happy to share all of that with you guys tomorrow as we move forward. So come find me. Again, I'm on Twitch. I'm on YouTube. I'm at Jeff Blankenburg everywhere. And we're building a casino starting tomorrow. So it'll be really fun. Thank you so much for being here, Annette.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
Certainly. All right. I'm going to get out of here. I will see you guys all next week. Take care.